There we go. Thank you. You're the best. Yeah, so it is going to be recorded. So if you don't want to be seen, feel free to turn off your camera. But yes, here we go. Okay. All right. Oops, wrong slide. Okay, here we go. So yeah, welcome to English Coach. Most of you that are here probably already know me, but for the sake of the video, I'll go through everything here. Really quickly, just a self-introduction. I'm Adam Cardos, author of the Awesome Adventures series and also Awesome Phonics Adventures. Many people know me for the Gamerized Dictionary as well. But today we'll be focusing on something completely new, which is the English Coach series, which I'm really excited about. And I think it's going to be something that really helps a lot of us prepare our students, particularly for ACAN tests and also just for um, taking tests or dealing with life's challenges. So we'll go into that a bit more. I want to start off just quickly saying why I decided to develop this course. Um, Aiken is not something that I love or have a deep interest in. I have been working uh, teaching still children and teenagers how to pass the exams for many years. I actually, early on in my career in Japan, I worked on a software program which was a bestseller for preparing students for Aiken as well. So I had experience with this over 15 years ago, even before ed tech was becoming a big thing. So the kind of starting point for the idea for this course was rooted in the research that I started doing for student retention. Uh, Having talked to many schools across the country, one of the themes or one of the problems that seemed to come up for a lot of people was that students kind of leave just a little bit too early. So seeing this as a common issue and also it being an issue at our school, I thought it's time to really do a deep dive and find out um, the causes of this and ways to kind of resolve them, backed up by case studies and different kinds of data. So based on that, I produced this book, which I just released a couple weeks ago, Don't Leave, Understanding Student Retention in English Language Schools in Japan. And in it, there are case studies, lots of data, and lots of really useful information for trying to keep your students at your school longer. Um, I will pop this link into the chat, so if anyone doesn't have it, uh, you can download it here. Here you go. So through this research, how does this connect to English Coach? One of the big takeaways was that older kids and teenagers need results they can trust. As they're younger, they might be just, having fun, enjoying playing games, learning English, just the pure enjoyment of it. When they get into later elementary and teenage years, the students that stay the longest are the ones that see very specific progress. Parents and the kids themselves want to have some kind of reliable result. At some point, they need to have a big celebratable success. So this is where I kind of thought, okay, I've kind of known this and I've worked on ACAN programs before, uh, but I don't really like it. It's a kind of a I'm glad to find a specific way to deal with this issue, but at the same time, I'm a bit stressed because I'm not a huge fan of Aiken. I've often found that there are big problems with, we'll have parents coming to our school and telling us we want our child to take Aiken, and it might be too early. It might be just not a really good experience for them. So, real quick, I want to just describe what I consider to be the Aiken problem. The first thing, the way that Aiken is typically taught, and actually the test content itself is often boring. It's just not interesting. It's not exciting for kids. Very different from what a lot of us try to do at English schools in Japan. Number two, most of the materials or courses out there are a very deep end approach. which means that we're not really introducing or teaching the content step by step. We're just throwing them into past questions. And through that process, a lot of the time, children get questions wrong and they don't really get any clarification on it. Maybe in sort of a more positive case, the teacher might sort of explain, oh, this is why that was wrong, this is the correct answer, but they're not getting any extra practice on that after. They're moving on to something completely different. So this is kind of the kakomon style of teaching for Eiken. And interestingly, having talked to lots of cram school teachers across the country and asked why is this the case, they said traditionally that is how ACAN preparation is done in the country. It tends to be a lot of just sort of deep end. And I think that that does work when the students have already studied all of the content needed to pass that test. If their knowledge and skills are already up to the task, then I think this can be positive. But a lot of the time, it's too early. We're throwing kids into studying for a test and not really giving them enough support. Too early, it's too much pressure, and this can often lead to it being very confidence destroying. Passing a test, achieving success can be a huge confidence boost and something that really motivates the child into the future. However, if they take a course and they spend a year or two in it and they just keep getting questions wrong and not making progress, that has quite the opposite effect. So English Coach attempts to solve these problems in the following way. The first thing, the materials are engaging. We have all these really great, fun, colorful illustrations. Some of you may have seen the grammar videos that come with it. These are they're not just silly stories. They really cover the grammar in detail, but they do it in a way that is kind of amusing with characters and a dialogue with, moments that are more amusing. Um, Most of the course is fairly straightforward. It doesn't sort of get too crazy, but we do have things like, for example, this is a gap fill for a song about a stinky cat. Stinky cats, I'm told by the YouTube algorithm, are very popular internationally. So, we have some more amusing or silly bits as well that pop up into the course. I didn't want to post any materials that were copyright, but I think a lot of you know what typical ACAN preparation materials look like. The very fact that we have color here is just a huge difference, I think. So the next point is that it is a spiral syllabus. So instead of deep ending the students, the teenagers, the children, we are giving them first a little bit of vocabulary, then a little bit of grammar, then we're practicing those together. Next, they're learning new vocabulary and new grammar, and then they're practicing all that together. So it continuously recycles the content as the difficulty level and the amount of content gradually increases. So it's very step by step. It's more of a shallow end approach rather than this deep end approach that we see in typical courses. And third is this emphasis on coaching and learner development. So I'll go through that. That's a little bit harder to explain, but I'll go through that briefly in the next few slides. But the idea here is that while studying for a test like ACAN can be a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, students, everyone is going to encounter a lot of different tests or challenges throughout their life. And through this course, we hope to not only get them to their goal of passing a particular ACAN level, we hope to equip them with skills for dealing with pressure, coming up with strategies to overcome solutions, become better at setting goals, monitoring their progress, managing their time, focusing, all of these things that many of us learn only later in life. If through the process of the course, a student is able to pick up just one or even two or three strategies that really help them through their life, I think we've done them a great service, not only in helping them with their English, but really helping them learn some new life skills. Okay, so the plan for the session, we're going to do a brief look at coaching. I think a lot of you who are in the session already might have seen one of my presentations on coaching. So this will be a lot more cursory, a lot more quick. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it is an important part, so I want to kind of take a quick look at that. The next thing, we'll look at the GROW model, which is again part of coaching. Then I'll show you the different resources that are related to the course and give you a bit of onboarding, show you where you can find these resources. Then I'll walk you through a unit, again with reference to the different materials. Number 5, I'll take you through the review process. So I believe everyone here has signed up to review the materials, and I want to express a lot of gratitude for that. Thank you very much. This is really an important part of this project, getting it to be as good as it can. But I'll show you what it is that we need from you in order to make it the best course that it can be. And then we'll have a little bit of time for questions and answers. Was there a question there, Lawrence? I saw a bing at a moment.
Jan asked, Sensei has a mustache? I don't know if
Sometimes
that
he
was
does, sometimes he doesn't.
I
Nice
wasn't sure if that
observation.
was worth stopping the presentation, but if it's Jan, it might be. Sorry.
No, I think it was some much
Sorry,
needed.
sorry, I'm
I was
sorry,
getting a
sorry.
little too serious there, so there was some much needed comic relief.
Be careful what you write in the chat, guys.
No, 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 please let it rip.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
So
Yeah.
next up, really quickly, I want to take you through coaching. Again, most of you have seen this. I'm going to post a link in the Facebook group and also to by email to the full version of this. I believe it was recorded at one of the conferences I did. I still haven't found that recording, so I'll find it and I'll make sure to post it as well. But really quickly, what is coaching? So coaching is best understood for us in contrast to teaching. So a lot of us, of course, are teachers, and what a teacher kind of does or is, a teacher is someone who has the answers, someone who has the knowledge and the skills that the students want to get or want to acquire, or we're trying to convey those knowledge, those skills and that knowledge to the learners. So we often, as teachers, find ourselves clarifying things, explaining things. We're also in charge of assessing learning and also often giving feedback. So testing or gauging students' progress is also a part of it. Now, what a coach does is quite different. So while a teacher has all the answers, in the coaching role, we want to think of our students as having the answers. So what a coach is someone that helps the learners sort of bring their keys out, bringing the answers out of the students. So, for example, if the student has a goal, the coach might help them bring that goal into focus, help them to clarify it. They're not going to tell them what their goal is. The goal needs to come from the student themselves. The coach helps the students explore different obstacles and solutions to their problems. Again, without heavy-handedly telling them the solutions or telling them what to do. We're trying to get this from the students themselves with the object of improving performance. And the main tool of a coach is going to be guiding questions. So mainly what I'm going to look at in the next part is the type of questions that you might want to ask your students in order to help them find solutions or find strategies that work for them. What am I missing here? Yeah, no, I think that's about it. So really quick, there's a summary of those two. Okay, so quickly I want to talk about what's called the GROW model. And this will kind of give you a more concrete idea of what a coach does. So the GROW model is a 4-step process that we can bring students through in one session, one conversation, or it could be over a period of time. Oh, yes. I think when I paused for a long time there in the last slide, what I was thinking was a lot of the coaching might best be done using a little bit of Japanese or using your student's first language. In that the types of questions we're going to be asking as a coach are often quite deep and require deeper thought. And doing it in English might not necessarily get us where we want to go. Okay, So the first step of the GROW model is the G stands for goal. Uh, an example question would be, what would success look like for you? Next, R is reality. Reality are, so it's nice to have a goal. I think most of us probably came into the new year with lots of goals. I'm going to run every day. I'm going to study Japanese more. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then February came along and just derailed all of us, right? We all got tired. We all kind of ran out of motivation. Something came up. A teacher changed positions, or God knows. I mean, so many different things can come up that just derail you from those goals and those decisions that you make. So the reality section is for helping the students to anticipate what these different obstacles to their goal will be. And that moves us on to the third section, O, which is options. And then once we've identified these different obstacles, we want to help the students to come up with solutions to these different obstacles. Many of us know, again, starting in New Year's, we have these plans, but we, at as adults, we also have probably done this many times, and we know things get in the way. When you really want to stick to a plan to achieve a goal, the best thing to do is actually anticipate those problems ahead of time. Okay, when I feel too tired in the morning, what can I do? And then come up with the options. When you pre-decide those, this really helps us to stay on track. And finally, way forward. This is a really important part of the process. And this is what helps the students to commit to what they've decided. So they've identified potential obstacle. They've identified a few different ways that they could overcome that obstacle. And then the last one is to get them to become more accountable to themselves, or to commit more to taking the actions that they've decided. This one's an important one. And speaking from personal experience, I've had a couple of different coaches in my life, health and wellness coaches, that sort of thing. And they've really helped me uh, not just to make decisions, but really to stick to them and decide for myself that it's something that I want to do. One key thing I want to say at this point, if some people might feel a bit intimidated. Oh, coaching, that's different from what I've done. This seems a little bit tricky. The only thing I think you need to keep in mind is that you don't want to tell your students what to do. You want to help them come up with what they want to do from themselves. When we realize things and decide things on our own, the likelihood that we're going to stick to them and our level of motivation towards those things is completely different. It's more internal in nature. Okay, so very quickly, let's take a look at some questions that would help with each of these stages. So first one, goal setting. Typically, if we ask our students, what is your goal? We're not going to get, that's a very broad question, and probably we'll get a very broad or vague answer. Typical ones would be, I want to be a YouTuber, or I don't know, I think is also very common. Too broad, too vague, not likely to result in any kind of action. So in the goal setting section, we want to start with a more specific, well-defined question. For example, what score would you feel proud of on this test? What is one small goal you can set for today? Often limiting it in a smaller time frame is going to help us to kind of come up with goals that are more actionable. So through this stage, again, this is the condensed version. We want to take this kind of vague goal, I want to study more and do better on my tests, and turn it into a much more concrete and actionable goal, such as for the next 2 weeks, I will study science for 20 minutes after dinner on Tuesdays and Thursdays by making a short summary and answering 5 review questions so I'm ready for my science test. So this fulfills all of the criteria of a goal that we can actually execute on. So the process for the coach, again, can just be asking lots of questions and making sure that we're refining that goal and then giving it back to the students so that they can um, be more clear on what their goal is. To make a quick reference to the book, in English Coach, and we'll go through this again when I do the walkthrough of the unit, every unit starts with a goal setting and reflection and goal setting um, activity. So in the reflection, they might say what their target score was for the previous unit and then what their actual score was. They might talk about whether they're happy with that, what is something that they could change, what are some options, ways to improve for the next one. So this creates an opportunity to kind of open this coaching style conversation. Um, Again, if you don't want to go too deep with it, I think just completing the exercises as is will be quite helpful to the students. Really quickly, next, reality. So I'm just going to jump in and give you some questions that might help to suss out the possible problems that students will have. For example, when do you usually study? How focused do you feel during that time? What happens when you get stuck while studying? What seems to work when you do well? This is one of my favorite questions. I've recently used this with a student, and he didn't nail the answer after that, but he said something like, "Oh, this sentence, I was able to remember the word reliable because of this example sentence." So we dug on that more, and it seemed he came up with the idea that coming up with sentences that were not toku for him, that he felt resonated with him, was the best way for him to remember words. So this is a nice one. What worries you the most about it? How confident are you that you will be able to make time to study every day? How confident questions are really nice as well. Moving on to options. So now that we've kind of surfaced a few of these problems, we can talk about options. If you tried something new, what could it be? What would studying look like if it was working really well? When could you realistically fit study time into your week? How could you reduce distractions? Who could help you if you get stuck? What's a backup plan if time runs out? So again, these are questions just to help the student to think more deeply about what they can do. And in all of these sections, if we're brainstorming with the kids, the students, we don't want to go too quickly and accept their first suggestion. Really let it sit and let them feel that anything they say will not be judged. And there's no silly ideas. And often by the third idea that comes up, then we get something interesting or different. So, yes. Now, another little quick reference to the book.
All right, Adam,
For
can
Yes,
I, a really quick question.
yes.
Debbie says, I think it's this one or the one before. What do you worry most about it? And she's asking, what does it refer to?
Oh, this is a general question that you could adapt to kind of any situation. What worries you the most about the test? What worries you the most about um, let's see, like being able to understand the grammar? I mean, it can be honestly, it could be outside of English learning as well. If you're sensing a certain amount of stress or something like that, we can really bring out not just I'm worried, but what exactly is worrying you? I'm worried I'm going to get sick. I'm worried I'm going to, not get into that school. I don't know what it is. It's an exploratory question. Hope that answers it. Yeah. So again, with the options, one thing that really helps the students is giving them options. Oh, sorry, options of options. Boy, that doesn't make sense, does it? Uh, but if they don't really have any ideas, often kids will fall silent. They don't really have much to say. They feel a bit of pressure. What does the teacher want me to say? But through the course, there are these study tips sections, and these all start to build the options that students have. It gives them more ideas and things that they can try. This is an example of a time management skill. So identify times in your schedule when you are free. So we'll spend some time and go through the schedule and find out little bits where they are free and where they do have other things scheduled. And then deciding on little sections or places where we can schema jikan, as they call it in Japanese, where they can actually throw in a little bit of extra study. This also taps into the idea of habit stacking. If you have a really well-established habit, for example, wake up, we all wake up. Um, when we put another little bit of study or a little habit attached to that other one, we're much more likely to continue with it. So these types of tips are in the book throughout, and they're very helpful for yeah, getting the students more options, more ideas to try. Here is another one. This is specifically kind of reality to option. So this is a study tip about anticipating what tends to break your focus, what tends to distract you while you're studying. And the students brainstorm some of these, and then they also brainstorm solutions. When, for example, my brother turns on the TV and I want to watch, when that happens, what am I going to do? I'm going to move to my bedroom and study for 10 more minutes, then watch TV. Again, pre-deciding what you're going to do when the obstacle comes up is a great way to stick to it. Okay. Um, let's move on finally to way forward, and then I'll get on with the unit walkthrough and showing you the resources. So the way forward, this is the time when this is the last step in the sequence, and this is where we help the students to choose one or two actions. We really help them to commit to it. We help them to build ownership. Ownership is, again, it's a word that I'll use a lot here. But ownership means that, again, they're not doing it because mom said to do it, because teacher said to do it. They're doing it because they decided to. This is a big, huge difference in terms of motivation. And then turn their options into a doable student plan. Whatever we've come up with, let's make them as confident as possible that they think they can do it. Sometimes that might be reducing the amount. Sometimes it might be just getting really specific about when we're doing it, or really specific about how we're going to celebrate that success, or who we're going to tell about it. These types of things can help develop accountability. So here are some example questions. Which option do you want to try first? What feels most doable right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to do this? This, again, I'll flag as one of my favorite questions. My personal coach used to ask this to me all the time. And often if I said like, oh, 6, she'd say, oh, okay, maybe let's talk about this a little more. And what can we do to make this 1 point higher? And then that would help you to kind of refine it, really help you to visualize what you can do. What's your backup plan? How will you feel after you follow through? All of these are great for creating accountability and follow through. Okay, that concludes the really quick run through of coaching in English Coach. Are there any questions about that before I move on to resources? I saw a number pop into the chat there. No. May you please share strategies? Hmm. One question about ADHD. Not within the scope of this talk. Definitely a deep topic. Somebody asked about how to apply these strategies when with students with ADHD. I think that they're particularly useful for students who have ADHD in that they'll probably have bigger obstacles than most students. So definitely working on these things, probably making things more visual, keeping when it comes to habit formation, things that will most likely be more successful with people with ADHD would be rather than just making decisions, changing environment, making sure, for example, if putting their study book on their desk, trying to look for solutions that involve actually changing their physical environment rather than just making decisions or talking about it. Anyways, not my area of expertise. Thank you for the question. Great. Let's move on and go through the resources.
Sorry, as you
Yes.
were talking, Andy had a question. With the coaching
Yes.
sessions, do they need to be done one-on-one or can they be done as a group? And Jan seconded that question.
Yep, that's a great question. I think in the ideal situation, you can do it as a group and have the students talk together. Um, One of the important parts to really get coaching to work well is the environment and the relationships. So if you've got a particularly judgmental child who kind of makes fun of the others in this kind of session, it's really not going to work well. So you might need to rethink it. But if you're able to foster a really supportive environment where kids do love sharing things about these types of questions. And once they get going and exchanging ideas and stuff, it can be even better than a one-on-one kind of situation. Um, Another option is to have kind of quiet conversations as the students are working on things independently, kind of circulate and have those kinds of chats. It could be just before the lesson, after the lesson, in little bits and pieces as well. But certainly the ideal situation would be to do it as a group.
Can I follow up on that question?
Yep.
How often would you recommend these coaching sessions?
So I wouldn't think of it as a full session. Again, it's embedded in the book. So at the beginning and end of a unit, there are kind of opportunities for it, and you might spend more time on it or less. It isn't sort of set in stone. I think every time you get to the study tips, there are some opportunities to kind of discuss these types of things. Um, and you might not necessarily need to go through the entire cycle, but I think it's really helpful to be aware of that kind of process of goal, uh, obstacles, options, and then committing. I hope that answers it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think Ryan posted a similar question. I think Ryan, if that's okay with is it okay? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Again, the last thing I want to say is don't be intimidated by this. Don't think, oh, this is way too different. And when I teach this course, I need to coach like as a professional formal coach. You really don't need to. These are some ideas. Get your feet wet with it. Try it out. Um, Again, the key is that at various points in the course, you're able to help the students find their best ways of learning, their best ways of overcoming whatever obstacles they have. Um, and just kind of keeping it in mind and not always thinking of yourself as the teacher who's just kind of teaching the English. That in and it's of itself will help most of us to kind of occasionally adopt this more coaching style role. You will be the teacher most of the time, um, of course, but certainly, once in a while, switching to a different role is the key. Okay, really quick, let's take a look at the resources. So here are some things that your students will need to access while using this course. Uh, Classroom audio, you can find this in the QR codes at the appropriate page. I'll show you these very specifically next in the walkthrough. The answer key is found on a QR code at the beginning of the unit and also the unit tests as well. So they can scan that and they can get answers to all of the exercises in the unit. The answer key is really useful because it helps the students to be able to get confirmation on their answers. They're not always waiting for the teacher, kind of puts them in the driver's seat. Reader library. This is coming soon. The QR codes on the reading pages will take you to a small digital graded reader library, which is going to fill out as time goes on. I'll give you a quick sample of one of those books. Um, Next is the speed dictionary, which is a very important part of the course. This is also something you'll find the students can find directly in the QR code in the book. There's also a link to it. It's web-based, so they don't need to download any kind of app. They can use it on a computer, Android, phone, tablet, iOS, whatever they want to use it on. Videos, also they'll find QR codes in the book, specifically taking them to that video. The videos are housed in Speed Dictionary, so the QR code will take them to that location in Speed Dictionary. And I will demonstrate that again in a second. And finally, the workbook. I'm planning to print the workbooks. I think most of us don't like having too many printable worksheets. At this stage, it's not quite ready. So I put those onto a site for the teachers, and you'll need to print those out in the short term. I think I saw a question there.
It was referring back to whether Japanese should be used in the classroom or not. But I think it was answered.
Okay, great. So then here are some resources that the teacher will need to access. So classroom audio, it's the same place where the students would find it, QR code in the book. The answer key, again, beginning of the unit and unit test, you'll find a QR code for those. Lesson plans and workbooks are all on the teacher resources site. I've got a temporary site up now. I did email everybody a link to that um, in the email before this session. I think that was last night that I sent it, but I will also drop it in the chat right now. This is not it. Oops. Let's try this again. Why isn't that working? Hold on, let's try this again. There we go. So right here in the teacher materials, it's a simple Google site. It will be eventually changed. We've got a button here where you can download. Only right now we have only the level 4 unit 1 lesson plan and also the workbook samples. So if you just click on those, you should be able to download them yourselves. And let me just drop the link into the chat.
Already did. I'll do this for you.
Oh, you did? How did you do that?
I was a good boy. I read the email you sent.
Very cool. Thank you very much, Lawrence.
No
All
problem.
right. Um, great. While we're at it, some other things that I can show you. Uh, Here is the site for the listening. Again, this is just being filled out now. Um, but the QR code will bring you to a page like this, and then you'll have, hold on.
This picture of a farm is strange.
Yes, there is some spaghetti on the house.
There you go. So that's the audio site, and that will be accessible by the QR code in the book. Also, the link was shared in email, so maybe Lawrence can check that in as well.
Already done.
Okay, great. Um, let's see, what else do I want to show you at this point? Nope, I think we're good. Let's go back to the here we go. Great. Okay. Um, so let me next do a unit walkthrough, and that way I think where the resources are found and how they'll be used will be particularly useful. As I walk through, I'll be going through the lesson plan, which you would find on the site that was just posted as well. So if you wanted to look at that, that's fine. And all right, so let's do the unit walkthrough. So this is unit 1 for English Coach 4, level 4. And the first unit is going to start off with slightly irregular pattern. Usually the reflection section up here at the top refers to the unit that precedes it. But of course, this is the first unit, so we're going to start with just, maybe this is helpful. Here we go. We're going to start with just some general kind of reflection on study and how they feel about tests. After that, they'll be setting goals. So an important thing for the next section here is that the students kind of choose what score they'd like to get on the Unit 1 quiz and also the Unit 1 test. For each of the goals in this section, there are page references so the students know exactly what it refers to. So since this is their first lesson, they might not really know kind of what score they think they can get. So it's useful to just let them have a flip through those pages, look at the questions, and based on that, they can decide what they think their goal is. It's helpful at this point to kind of encourage them to have realistic goals. They don't need, this isn't a test. They're not being um, judged on what they think that they can score. They should try to choose something that is realistic, but slightly challenging. Obviously, if the goal is set too low, it's going to be too easy to achieve and it will do nothing. If it's set too high, it might discourage them. So we take them through there. Here again is the answer key for the entire unit. So when they scan that, it'll take them to the answers. Discourage them from checking the answers at the beginning. Okay, the next page over, we're going to have vocabulary. So in the vocabulary section, the approach is, I think a lot of us have taught vocabulary before where we play games and do lots of things to kind of help, the students remember the words. The key thing in this course is to get the students to develop their own strategies for learning vocabulary effectively. Rather than kind of doing all the work through the games, we want them to just learn ways that they can do that well for themselves. The first activity, they'll scan this QR code for the audio, which I just showed you on the audio site, and they can listen to the words. And at this point, we want them to self-evaluate which words they know or they don't know. So they can simply check the boxes to the words they know. Now, there's some really important training you need to do with the students at this point. In Unit 1, this might take a bit more time. Once you kind of get them to understand the process, they'll get better at it. But we want to make sure that they understand what it means to know a word. So in the context of this test, this is all outlined in the lesson plan. We want them to we want to make sure that they can understand the meaning, they can say the word, they can read it, and they can also spell it. So only then, if they have any insecurity about those four criteria, they should not check I know. They should only check I know if they can spell it, they know it, they've got it memorized, they're fully confident on it. Really important to make sure that they realize this is not, they're not trying to impress anybody. Nobody, it's not helpful if they know all the words. The purpose is for them to focus their study time on the items that they don't know. So it's for them. Make sure that they know that, again, it's for themselves. So once they've gone through that, they've listened to the words and they've identified which ones they know or they don't. One option here is to go to Speed Dictionary in class. So they can scan this and it will take them to, let's have a quick look at Speed Dictionary. And it will take them to Speed Dictionary. Pre-registration required by the students to use the QR codes. I'm seeing a question from Ryan. That's a good question. No for everything except for Speed Dictionary. Okay. Speed Dictionary does require registration. At the moment, we're not charging anything for it, and we're not creating accounts for schools. So essentially, the students, the first time they scan that and go to the Speed Dictionary, they'll need to put in an email and a password. And you need to make sure that that you write that down as well. If you wanted, you could make those accounts ahead of time. But yes, basically that's all sort of in your hands. They can make it on the spot. They should have their own account. And once they have that, they just need to log in every time they scan it. Let me show you that now. Hold on. Nope, not that. Okay. hold on. Okay, so introducing Speed Dictionary. This is the first iteration. There's a lot of new features being added at the moment. It's quite simple, very effective for studying, but there are lots of different other features such as the graded readers, and also more advanced kind of AI functionality that will be added later. For the moment, this is how it works. So first they would go to Study, choose their book. And I have to make one self-deprecating joke now. Notice how long the loading time is. We named it Speed Dictionary. Loading is very slow. So having been through the process of developing software before, this is because it hasn't gone through any optimization yet. With Gamerized Dictionary in the early days, we had lots of long loading times, and after we reached a certain point of development where we wanted to optimize everything, it got a lot faster. So that will speed up. My apologies in the meantime. So once you get to their book, they will have a list of exercises that are all labeled according to the book. They also have a review tab. So here for homework, often you might want to assign just doing their reviews, and these are all just spaced repetition style reviews. Now, if they scan the QR code in the book, it will take them directly to the activity that they need to do. If they haven't logged in, they'll need to log in first, but then it will take them directly to the activity. But it's fairly easy to navigate even if they don't scan that code. So we were looking at vocabulary 1.1. There are two sequences for that. So really quickly. So the first thing we're going to have is just, again, a self-evaluation. They can see the word and the translation. I'm going to add some hiragana here as well, because I think younger kids would struggle with this, but for the moment, it is just like that. If they don't know the word, they hit next. Here's an important thing. If they click I know, this removes the word from the set so that they're only studying the words that they need to study. There are 7 in this set. So if I hit I know, now that one was removed. Next, I know. Bedroom. Okay, I know bedroom. I know. Next. Okay. Some of this will look a bit similar to Gamerize. They're just really quick activities to help them to remember it. So this one is read and touch the word. I've eliminated a lot of the words to keep it really short. And here's a kind of a speed round. This will be, there will be more repetitions when you actually use it. For the moment, I'm just doing it really quick. I'm losing one. Okay, I ran out of time there, so I got that one wrong. Oops, I got 2 wrong. Okay. Then there's a quick voice recognition activity. This again is a little bit slow at the moment, but I'll demonstrate it. Sandwich. Goodness. Maybe I shouldn't make you sit through that. After that, there's a spelling activity, and then the final activity is a sentence gap fill. So it's a little bit more similar to test conditions. While we're at it, later we're going to look at the grammar section. So the grammar videos are here, and then grammar exercises are here. So very quickly, let me show you how that works. I'll click on the grammar video. And
おやリンゴがある。
お、そうだね。それ、英語で言えるかな？
It's an apple.
ちょっと違うよ。
okay. A lot of you, I think, might have seen that on the Facebook group. I also sent out links to the videos that we have so far. These are being released probably about 3 a week, so we'll be ahead of schedule for April. And at this point, we can just go back to book. There we go. And then after that, there are grammar exercises here. So the first one is going to be a word ordering type of activity. There isn't any rice. Sandwich. Sandwich. No, there is a sandwich, that kind of thing. The second activity is a test style gap fill activity where they'll get a sentence and they'll have to just choose the correct or type in the correct grammar word. So very effective for practicing the grammar in the context of the test. Yeah, so that's basically the type of content that we have in there so far. Okay. I feel like I should pause for a minute. I've been talking for such a long time. Does anyone have any questions at this point? I'll continue with the walkthrough in a second.
There was a question in the chat related. Maybe you can address it at the end of the presentation. But Fafi asked, "My students are very young, 5 to 6 years old. They simply find the test fun. How can I get them to get their minds into study mode?"
Well, I'm not really sure I see what the problem is. They find it fun, but if they find it fun and they're doing well, then great. If they're having fun with the test but not studying, what are they doing with the test? Making paper airplanes? Fafi, do you want to give some detail on that?
Well, my students have like they take the test from a fun perspective. They just use the like whatever they learn in class and they've made it through. Like recently, two of them even passed the third grade and they didn't know what to do about the interview.
Right.
So I don't know how they're going to do there because we don't specialize in Aiken. So I could not guide them towards what to do for the interview. And the parents were just like, oh, they've been doing well, so they don't need Aiken lessons. So I don't know how that will end. So it's like getting parents and my kids to understand that they still need to put in the effort because Aiken is a bit structured. It's not just fun and getting like when they walk in for the interview, they have to carry themselves a certain way, use a certain type of vocabulary. Like it's not just, hey, what's up? I'm here.
Yeah,
I can speak English. Even if they speak fluently, they could still fail. That's how the system.
My short answer on that one is so obviously these are kids that have gone to international school. So they have a very high level of general English proficiency. They don't need to study for Aiken. If they're getting through grade 3 at 5 or 6 years old, then they don't need this course. They're great. And when it comes to the interview, honestly speaking, it's very easy to train them. You can just look online for sample interview things and just make sure that they keep it simple. But they have if they're able to pass the written test for grade 3, the speaking test will be a breeze for them with just a little bit of pointers. Alicia's got a question. Yes.
Thank you.
Would you like to ask a question, Alicia?
Alicia, you're muted.
Yeah, I know. Okay, sorry. I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself. And my video. So I also teach a lot of students who go to international school, and I feel like it's a lot of the pressure from the school to get them to take the test to kind of promote their school as being really good, and then they can say so many students. So Fafi, I don't know you personally, but if that's the case at your schools, you need to talk to the parents about, what is their purpose for taking this test, not the school's purpose for taking the test. I mean, is it to encourage the kids to continue to learn English? Is it, like just to have fun? I really think that if the kids are having fun, don't interrupt it. If it's the kids feel pressure to take the test because of the school, then maybe you need to have an in-depth talk with the school, the parents about what the school is doing and then that might be brought up at a parent teacher meeting and stuff. But for personally, if kids are enjoying it and having fun and everything, I just provide as much support as I can and then let it just go from there. I don't try to interrupt that joy because
Right.
kids lose that joy and then it's gone. It's so hard to get back.
Yep.
It's
Let me just stop you there because I do want to make sure it's Sunday. People have a certain amount of time. I want to make sure I just kind of get through the main points. At the end, we can have a more kind of involved discussion. Yeah, no. Thank you. Very useful input, though.
Adam, can I just a quick question about
Yep.
the course?
Yep.
Some tech questions. Can you adjust the speed of the audio?
Speed of the audio.
Yeah.
That is not a current feature. That we did put questions about that in the review form because we were a little concerned that it's a bit too fast. That being said, I find most young learners do particularly well on the listening. So I thought we did like Aiken listening is really slow um, compared to sort of natural speech. But yeah, that's an interesting suggestion. I'm hoping this is exactly the kind of feedback that I would like to get through the review process, and possibly for version 2, we might add a speed adjustment or something like that. So thank you for that question.
Okay, that was from Grace. And then Mark, Jan, and I, probably a few others, have a question about the timing of the lesson. Is it something you can do in a
Yep.
15-minute Eikaiwa lesson, or what do you think is the ideal lesson
Yeah.
structure?
Oops, somebody fell out and came back in. So the lesson plan that I put up on that site, which you can all check out, goes through a unit in 4 lessons with a fair amount of homework, which would make it a 1-year course because there are 12 units, roughly 4 lessons per unit. There's quite a lot to get through, but I do think that kind of personally, if the students need more work, you might need to give them more homework. If they don't, and if they're actually breezing through it, there's no reason to kind of overload them, right? There's a lot of content in the workbook. There's the speed dictionary app stuff. The content in the book itself would be fairly easy to get through in 4 weeks per unit. Yep. But you can adjust it. I do think you could do it in an intensive course. You could, yeah. I mean, there's lots of different options or ways that you could structure it. I saw one more question there. Can you skip units? Yeah. I mean, if you want to, it's a spiral syllabus. So essentially, if, for example, the first unit is there is there are questions with there is there are count and non-count, if they really kind of just know that stuff, you could skip it and it's going to be tested. It'll come up in the later units. So yeah, it depends if your students are they've already studied a lot of it or not. If they already have studied it, it's still useful to go over it in the context of the test because often I find students that have already studied, they've done like all the levels of Let's Go or whatever, and they've really gone through all of, there is, there are, and stuff like that. They still don't get it right when they're taking the test. So yeah, I mean it certainly is possible. Okay, let me get back to the walkthrough. I think that was great to have some uh interaction though. Oops. There we go. Got it. Okay. So there was the vocabulary one. So we did a quick little look through speed dictionary. The final activity here is a listening activity. Most of these are going to be Aiken style questions. The first one doesn't. It's more of a drawing kind of activity. But again, the audio you'll find in that QR code there. Next, oops, here's where we go into the study tip. The first study tip in level 4 is one just specifically on reading skills and inferring meaning from context. So we've got these simple questions here where they can look at the picture and there are words like dinghies or bisque or cafeteria, words that maybe the kids don't know. but we're specifically practicing the skill of reading the words, maybe looking at the picture, which is not in the test, and then inferring the meaning and helping them not to panic when they encounter words that they don't know. So it's a bit of a reading strategy tip. Follow up with that is a reading section. So this is a very Aiken style reading passage for level 4 with 3 questions. They do have an opportunity also to practice that skill. There are some words that it asks them to guess the meaning of. Here we have the QR code to the graded reader library. That is not ready yet, but let me show you one quick example of what you will be able to expect. On, stop share. Okay, so here's one simple reader that we've written. It recycles all of the vocabulary that's in the unit. The language is quite simple, but it does tell a basic story. Our goal is to have hundreds of different readers so the students can choose books that they find interesting, ones that are specifically leveled to where they are in the course. And we'll probably also have some analytics tracking what books the students have read as well. But this type of reader will be included in the book as well. Okay, and back to this. There we go. Yep, so this is more test style reading practice for the reading skills that they'll need for the test, but really for students to make their optimal progress, they should be doing lots of reading on their own. And yeah, that's an option added as well. It also really helps for early finishers. If you've got students that are finishing their content more quickly in class, you're able to direct them to Speed Dictionary or the Graded Reader Library or something like that, and just keep them busy and learning and doing different things. Next, let's take a look at grammar section. So this might require just a little bit more explanation. So the approach to grammar is one of inductive logic. The students try to figure out content on their own, figure out grammar meaning and structure on their own. But we also follow that up with the grammar video that really takes them through a step-by-step explanation. And finally, we also have a grammar reference at the end of the book that has charts that sort of explains everything. Most grammar textbooks, definitely for younger learners, but even a lot of them for older students, have at the beginning of a unit, they'll have a grammar chart. It tells you exactly the structure, exactly what you're learning. Now, this is very clear, and a lot of teachers like that. So I was very close to adding the grammar charts at the beginning of the grammar section in this book. But I have a very deep found belief that students at least need to try to work things out. They need to think through it. They need to recognize gaps in their knowledge before they get any kind of clarification. So the sequence here for there is, there are, for example, they're looking at the dinner table and trying to connect the sentences to what's on the table. So this helps them get a general idea of meaning. After that, we've got this figure it out section. So this help, first of all, they'll be thinking about count and non-count. There is Japanese here as well. The idea is for them to, whether they understand count or non-count, it doesn't matter. If they look at it and they go, I have no idea, that's fine. At least now they've thought about it. And when they watch the video, they'll be watching with a different level of focus and a different level of different purpose altogether. So you try to allow them to go through these figure it out activities and don't overteach at this point. You might give them a bit of information, but they don't need to get it all right. Following that, scan the QR code and they'll go to the grammar video. Once they've watched the grammar video, they can come back and revisit these. Hopefully, they'll then be able to get the correct answers. And if not, the teacher can give a little bit of help and really clarify those things for them. Once they finish that, they have practice opportunities here at the bottom of the page. There's additional practice for the grammar in the workbook. And also, as we looked at before in Speed Dictionary, there's more practice. So there's lots of practice opportunities for them to really get the grammar down. I should give a quick look at the workbook as well. Oh, wait, I think I've got it here. Quick look ahead at the workbook. So here are a couple of pages from the workbook. So the workbook is a lot more simple, but again, it's just giving them more opportunities to practice. The amount that you use in the workbook depends again on how much practice the students need. The lesson plans refer to which pages they should do in the workbook, but if you feel like it's too much, you might want to, cut down on it. They don't need to do all of it. One more quick point about grammar. In the book, we do get into grammar terminology, which is not typical for younger learners. But for a lot of students that go to cram school or maybe they go to a particular high school, they suddenly just get dumped into learning English the way they learned it at our school, at our schools, tends to be something that's more fun and holistic, and they get lots of practice opportunities and not so much direct grammar instruction. When they then get thrown into a situation where they are confronted with grammar instruction, some of them, a lot of our students, tend to struggle and not do as well. So what we've done is come up with a fairly simplified grammar teaching system. So before in the count and non-count pages we saw before, there were some icons. Those were icons for count noun and non-count noun. We've also created these puzzle piece icons for subject, verb, object, complement, and adverb phrase. We've got different ways of representing infinitives with to, verb ing, adjectives, different parts of speech as well. So this is a reference page at the beginning of the book, but throughout the book, little by little, we introduce this is what a subject is. Here's the puzzle piece. And as you see, it's a corner piece. So it kind of shows them that that's what comes at the beginning of the sentence. Okay. So after the grammar section, we go into the Unit 1 quiz. Before the quiz, it's a good idea. Again, this is in the lesson plan. Give the students a chance to feel ready. Go ahead and review on your own time. We're going to do this quiz next week, or maybe we're going to do it at the end of the lesson. Take some time and get yourself prepared for it. And then they'll complete that quiz. All right. Why is this page not changing? There we go. Okay. So basically the cycle repeats after that. We're going to go again, vocabulary, study tip, grammar. The second run through, we've got this extra point. And so the extra point pages often are there to pick up not main points, but related points to different grammar. In this one, we talk about counters. For example, a piece of, a glass of, a bowl of, a slice of. These come up quite a bit in level 4. Also, more practice on count and non-count, because again, that is something that they really need to master in this level. At the end of the unit, they have the unit test, which is 3 pages long, and it has these Narabikai style questions, which they really need to get lots of familiarity with. And then we've got the answer key QR code there so they can check their answers. Moving into the next unit, they then can say, what was their target score? What did they decide they wanted to get in the previous unit? What was your actual score, which is referring to what they got on this? And then we have an opportunity to do a little bit of coaching. What went well, what didn't go well, what are you going to try differently next time? Do you want to try, working on this study tip or something else? That's sort of where the coaching opportunities come in. I think that's pretty much it for the walkthrough. I did have for the answer key, here's an example of what they'll see. They'll actually get to look at just the page with the examples filled out. So for you as well as a teacher, if you are checking their homework and they're not checking their own, you're able to kind of just flip through it really quickly with this. Okay, that is it for the walkthrough. Does anyone have any more questions? I guess it's basically question time now. So yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
It's okay. So
Hello,
how long?
Mark.
Yeah, hi. I previously asked and I didn't quite get the answer. How long does this lesson take? Like when you're teaching it, how long?
So that what I just took you through a full unit, which might be 4 lessons that are roughly 50 minutes. So I think four lessons per unit is doable. You could slow it down, you could go faster, but I've designed it ideally if the students are at the right level, one level per year could be okay. Once we get into higher levels like pre-2, it might make a longer course as well.
So this is going to be a separate class then. It's not something you can fit in like 15 minutes at the end of the class or
Ah, I see.
like do I
There
need
are
a
a lot of
standalone?
yes, that's a great question. Thank you, Mark. So I do think you could do it not as a standalone class. I think it is, as you saw the way it's designed, the students have access to all of the resources they need to do the learning. So if you wanted to mainly assign it as self-study, uh, I actually think that's a great idea. In fact, that would encourage more independence. There's more, if you're able to kind of give them the skills to study on their own and they mainly do it on their own, then massive service you're doing for them. So yes, great question, Mark.
Self-study course with the
See how much AI is included in the course. Um, oh, okay. So Alexander's asking how much AI is used in the course. The textbooks are in 100% human drawn. We work with a team of artists and it's all done by human artists. The readers are probably going to have some AI illustrations simply because of the quantity that we're trying to produce. But I'm a big fan of um, live artists and all that kind of thing. There are some elements of AI that have sped it up. The app itself will eventually have some AI functionality. I'm guessing that Alexandra is not a big fan of AI, and it is a topic that splits a lot of us. In the app, we are probably going to include some progress reporting that is done by AI and possibly like students will be able to take photos of their written work or their answered questions and get some feedback from AI as well to make it a little bit more independent. So there may be some included, and apologies if that's not desirable for you. It is hot topic. Since basically we're done now, if anyone wants to put up their hand or just jump in with questions, now would be a good time to do it.
There were a few more on the chat. Maybe
Okay,
read
go
them
for it.
to you, yeah. So when the kids attempt the quizzes and activities online, can we see the results?
Yes, so it is keeping track of their progress. They're able to retry the activities, and the way that their performance on those activities specifically informs the spaced repetition. So how many times they review it and at what frequency. There are school dashboards, but we're not releasing those yet. There will eventually be analytics and all that sort of stuff. Version 1, we're not going to be able to. We might get a few schools to try it out, but I don't think we're ready to release it fully. But actually, great question, because also in the review form, I will put in some questions about what sort of feedback or data you'd like to get about your students.
And Debbie is just confirming again. So she writes, So a self-study course with a coaching check-in weekly or monthly?
I like that. That would work.
Okay, and then Andy asked a couple questions. From what age would the coaching processes work slash not work?
So I would say the very youngest age would probably be grade 4, and you'd probably want a fairly mature grade 4 student. Um, Certainly grade 6, yes, into the teen years, it'll work great. Um, and I think that there are simpler ways for younger kids, even if they're younger than grade 4, there are some ways that you can make it work, but it won't be such like deep verbal questions. You might need to kind of give them worksheets that involve a bit of drawing. It could be like when you're studying, which one is you? And they point at pictures, different things to kind of facilitate their thinking. But certainly from grade 4, cognitively they should be capable of it in Japanese, not necessarily in English. If you listen to kids, I think often as an English teacher, when we're mainly interacting with kids in English, we forget how complex and how deep their thinking actually gets, even in grade 4, 5, 6. You can hear some fairly deep discussions between kids sometimes, or if when they're speaking in their own language. So certainly, I think it can work at that age.
Okay, thanks. And he has another question. Can we use the books with different Aiken levels in the same class?
Yes. That's not a popular idea, so I'm not talking about that up front. That is exactly how we use it at our school. I'm a firm believer in differentiation. If, because of the style of the class being mainly developing autonomy and helping to orient the learners to find the resources that they need, you absolutely can have multiple students doing different levels at the same time.
Okay, a few more here, and then a couple hands
I
up.
saw Jan
But
said his students were grade 5 students were talking about real estate investments. My goodness. Real estate's a hot topic on Hawaii Island, I think. Yeah.
um, Andrew asks again, does the speed dictionary component send any emails that students need to engage with?
No. Uh, it requires an email to set up an account now, and the only reason that it's used at the moment is for password resetting. So you probably want to use a real email, but it's possible to do it with a fake email as well. Um, we would like to provide feedback to teachers and parents, reports through the dashboard that can be exported. That aspect also will require some feedback and some thought.
Um, okay, and then after the hands went up, so I think Hadami and Fafi both had a question.
Go for it, Harumi.
This is not Harumi, but
Yeah. Hi, Scott.
on the writing hi, on the writing section, or I know section, vocabulary section,
Yeah.
how do they know or check that they know?
Are you talking about in the book or in the app?
In the book.
In the book.
The writing section in particular, how do they know the writing's correct?
No, I'm talking about, sorry, Harumi.
Harumi's
Vocabulary part. You're supposed to check if you know,
Yeah.
you said, and then you said that they should be able to write too, spelling, and how they know how to spell, or is there any section they can, quiz or so, and then they can type in and then know the spelling is right or
Right,
not?
right. Yeah, well, that's a great question. Um, so this is one of the teacher slash coach jobs is helping the students to become better at self-evaluating. If they need to test themselves, then maybe that's a good idea. But basically, if they have any doubt, then they should not check I know. The idea is to help them to become honest about what they know and don't know. And if they develop that ability of kind of like, I think I know this one, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to check it. I'm going to study it. That the key is to help them to develop that um, metacognitive skill, that skill of understanding knowing what they know and knowing what they don't know. But you know what? It could be interesting if you have a student who's really not good at that. You could tell them, why don't you write down the words and then cover them and try to write them again. If they need to self-test to develop that skill, that could be a good strategy.
Okay, thank you.
And then Fafi's hand went up before the chat.
Go for it,
blowing up.
Fafi. Are you still there, Fafi? Maybe not. We'll come back to you.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe.
Saya asked again. Okay, never mind. She just answered. Daniel asked, will there be any materials in the future with the introduction of ACAN 6 and 7?
Yes, we are hoping to be the first to produce said materials. There is no information about what the contents of those levels is as of yet, but we're hoping throughout this year to do research on the Monbusho documents, cross-reference them with the 5 and 4 levels and see how that sort of translates and sort of make inferences and try to create a curriculum that addresses what we expect to be on them. And then probably have to redo it completely when the course, the levels actually come out.
Okay, and sorry, earlier Eddie asked, I said you do use a Japanese in class, but I guess how much Japanese would you use? I said maybe percentage-wise in one lesson.
Right. I would say for coaching, which is going to be only here and there, you might do that primarily in Japanese. And then the teaching would primarily be in English. But the question is, I mean, I think it can be done in different ways. I'm not going to say this is how you have to teach the course. You can kind of look at it and make your own sense of it. But when it comes to teaching, often looking at learning objectives and outcomes is important. So if it's a communication course, 100% you should just be using English and helping them communicate. If it is a test that is preparing them for an exam and using some Japanese is going to help with that, then I think it is a good idea. So you might need to think of it that way. That also, if you're teaching grammar and you explain it clearly in Japanese from the beginning, you are robbing the learners of the opportunity to think about it themselves. So I think there are times where using Japanese can be helpful. There are times when you need to be really clear, and there are times where being clear actually is not a positive thing. So I mean, that's a big topic, but that's my take on it.
Thank you so much to answer my question.
Oh, that was from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
oh,
sorry,
Buffy's back now, right?
Is she back?
Sorry, I got lost on my computer. When you guys are saying, "Are you there?" I'm busy clicking buttons. I'm here. I'm sorry. My kids are all between first and second grade. I teach at a kindergarten, but the kids are really big on the parents are big on ACAN. So they're like, my class is going to be an advanced class, but they're between the age of the age of 6 and 7. So they're first graders and second graders. So I'm going to need, I know you need feedback, and I'm not sure like if I can use the book the way that it's supposed to be used because they're so young.
That's fine.
So if you could give me some guidance, like I will try to experiment with it and I will try to make something that could help give feedback. But if you've got any ideas or suggestions, that would be great. And then I can like also use those because
yeah, absolutely. No, I'm very interested to hear how students of different age groups and different levels interact with it. So, I mean, if you are able to try it out and see sort of how they react to it, then that would be really helpful. And of course, I'm happy to give you some ideas or pointers. I think it definitely can be used at that age. I was given one comment that the writing and gaps are too small. And I do think that it is a bit small, but also ACAN itself has very small writing. So, I mean, it mirrors if the test is what they're trying to do, then the material shouldn't be inappropriate for them.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. That was all.
Thank you.
Sorry, and Yuko had a question from earlier. When will students be able to purchase the materials at the earliest?
So we are giving out the materials now, as I think most of you know. Um, and you can ask for materials for your students. In fact, please do. Um, I'm most interested in getting reviews from schools that are actually using them with students rather than just looking through them and giving opinions. That's also valuable, but particularly if you get the number of books you need for your students. We will be making the books additional copies accessible through our website fairly soon. But after this initial sending, we'll probably need at least shipping costs to be paid. And that might also go. Right now, we're releasing the first 6 units, so half the course. The second half is also coming out. We might require some you to cover shipping costs for that as well. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
then thanks for the question. Debbie asked, are the coaching tips the same across the various books?
No, there's a variety. They recycle and they change. There might be some similarities, but they are different tips throughout, or different takes on the same one sometimes as well.
Cool, thank you. And then two questions that are very similar. Andy, you're Adam. Andy and Yukiko had similar questions, but if since the ACAN happens in the middle of the year, if they take the course but pass the test in the middle of the year, would you recommend they finish the course, or how do you keep them motivated?
Ah, okay. Yeah. That is true, isn't it? It's kind of unfortunate that the timing of the test is kind of in the middle of the year. Um, so currently the way we do it we have kind of rolling without English Coach, we have rolling ACAN courses. So students can switch levels anytime. But for me, a pass is not necessarily what they need to get to start studying for the next level. I think they should get at least like 80%. If you're doing like a practice test, if you download one of the practice tests and take them through it, if they get 80% or higher, they're ready to start studying for the next level. Um, if they're kind of a giddy pass, like 60 or something, they should probably just keep going because in my experience, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, if you kind of move them up too quickly, they'll stall at some point. They'll just get stuck in that one level, and that's where the real negative experience begins. So no, not a good idea to rush in general, I'd say. Somebody said, yeah, ACAN is when are the tests? There's one in October.
It's June, October, and January generally, 3 times throughout the year.
So one of the things that we originally had in the book was also setting a test date. So if the students actually set a date when they're planning to take the test, that will also kind of change their attitude towards studying, um, and also keep track of how many days there are until the test. There we go. Lawrence, you're muted.
Sorry, I was talking to myself. Sorry.
Oh. Yeah, I saw your mouth moving.
Yeah, I tend to do that. I think that might be it for the chats. Unless if I missed something, if you can raise your hand or just chime in.
I saw Leah had a question like, how do you find switching from a regular Eikaiwa class into this more textbook Eikaiwa, like Eiken textbook-based learning? Like, do you find there's a difficult transition, or do you have any suggestions for transitioning from all the play-based into the more textbook test-based learning?
That's a good question. I mean, age is a really important factor. So obviously you probably wouldn't want to do it too young. And I think you can still make the classes fun. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's sort of sitting down and just studying in all seriousness, but the type of fun kind of needs to evolve what I've found with really fun, active Eikaiwa classes is that, particularly around grade 5, it splits a bit, right? You might get some boys who are really into sports, and if you just give them a ball to throw, they'll be engaged, for forever. But some kids might start to feel like it's fun, but am I really studying English? And particularly, it tends to be girls often will be like, I'm too cool for this or whatever. So I actually think there is a very natural transition point somewhere around there, where when we start to treat them less like kids and treat them more like, I'm not going to say teenagers, but more mature, they respond quite well to it. And that's also kind of where the coaching comes in, is where we're starting to like treat them more as almost like an equal. So I do think the transition can be achieved very well. Kids don't always necessarily want to be running around, throwing things and shouting and singing and stuff like that. So, and there's time for both. You could also be, if it's an additional course, it's kind of nice to have the option or both side by side. Sorry, I hope that answered the question.
And there was another question about Rebecca signed up for a certain number of copies, but can she request more? Should she just fill out the form again?
Yes, please go ahead. I'm going to start sending books out pretty soon, so yes, please go ahead and more on.
Okay, I'll put the link to the form in the chat.
Thank you. You're hired, Lawrence. You need another job,
a long time ago, Adam. Again, I think that's it in the chat. I think so, unless Taya or Jan, who's picking up a lot of the slack that I'm creating. See something else?
You're doing a good job there. Your middle name is Phil, Lawrence Phil Hong.
Wait, is that a jab at me? What is that?
Being compared to one of the most helpful and generous people in the world? Yeah, not at all a
Yeah,
jab, right?
yeah, I know.
Okay, Alicia just said she's got to sign off because her battery is almost dead, and I think we're kind of running out of questions and stuff there. So everyone's got my email, so please email there or join the Facebook group if you're not already in there. Message me however you want. I will try to set up a line group at some point so we can have kind of quicker communication once you get the books and maybe you're starting your first lesson and freaking out or whatever. And I'll make sure that I kind of prepare you as much as I can. Thank you very much for coming, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for getting this together.
Thanks a lot, Adam.
Thank
Do you want a screenshot, Adam, of everybody attending?
Well, they're already leaving now. Oh, no.
Thank you so
Wait,
much.
we could do it once real quick. Let's try that.
Yeah, if anybody who's okay, can you put it on your camera and we can get a quick screenshot of everybody?
How do I do that? How
I've
do I
got
do it?
smiley faces all over.
Don't worry, man. I'll do it and send it to you. How's that, Adam?
Oh, you're the best.
I'll figure it out. Okay.
What do we
All right,
do?
everybody, put your cameras on.
We do this kind of pose? I don't know.
This kind of pose.
Wow, it's the people.
All right, everyone,
Everyone's got a
copy what
different
Adam's doing. Ready? 3.
Oh, I like Rebecca's one though. That's better.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right.
If I look funny, Lawrence, don't post it. Don't post it if I look funny.
You look fine, Fabby.
You look great. It was posted already. You look great.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys. Have a nice
All right.
weekend.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much. See you.
Alrighty. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend. See you.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks for having this information session.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, David. Did I close it? Are people hanging around for extra questions? No.
I'm just trying to work out how to leave because I don't use it very often. So if you cut it off, it's fine. Not for me.
All right. I will close it now. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.